good at multitasking as I'd like to be. And we are a local chapter here at Melbourne of Our Ladies Global. So you'll see a lot on our social media that Our Ladies Global posts a lot of exciting events and things like that. And we are mainly focused in Melbourne. So our aim is very much to promote gender diversity in our community, both in Australia and worldwide. And so we're called Our Ladies Plus, which has been a change that happened, I think, last year. And that we are recognizing that we are inclusive of all gender minorities beyond cis women, while also preserving our established identity. So you'll notice that a lot of our events is having speakers that are women or that fit into that plus category. And we're really we are really excited to celebrate all the amazing work and stuff that we all do. So we're also extending this invitation to anybody who would like to join our ladies, our committee, or even just join additional events and things like that. You're obviously more than welcome. There's also an expressions of interest page on our website if you are interested in presenting. So if there's something that you think might be applicable to the Our Ladies community, that you want to showcase, or if you just want an option to present to very friendly and a lovely group of people, we'd love to hear from you. So please fill in that expression of interest or shoot me an email. That's also fine as well. Um, and we can get sorted. Um, we host monthly events, so there's plenty of opportunities throughout the year to be able to host you. And then, just as my last little plug before we start, we are doing a very exciting event in August. It's written on the screen. I don't know why I'm confused about what date it is, the 12th of August, where we're actually linking up with the Statistical Society of Australia and we're doing kind of a meet the committee. So if you haven't met us and would like to come meet us, we'll be putting this all over social media. There is a registration link there, so please come and join us. We'll be having lovely Mexican tacos at Hotel Nacional. So if you just like food, you're more than welcome to come and you can say hi if you like. But also meeting the Statistical Society of Australia. So they have a lot of common interests with us, and they're a great committee. So it would be really great to, I guess, link up and do some more events and things like that with them. So with that, I'm going to stop talking because I'm not that interesting and I'm not why we're here today. And I'm going to hand over to Isabel and Libby to present on Positron. Go for it.
Well, welcome everyone. Thanks so much for joining us. My name is Isabella Velásquez. I work at Posit on the DevRel team. Livy, I'll pass it to you.
Hi, my name is Libby. I do community stuff at Posit. I host the Data Science Hangout, which I am fully aware is not compatible with your time zone. And Isabella and I both work on the Data Science Lab. So we are super, super excited to get to bring our sort of data science lab, um, way of doing things to this Our Ladies group. And we think this is going to be a whole lot of fun. So our way of working is screen sharing, transparency, live coding, being okay with doing things wrong, and just having friendly introductions to things. Another really big part of the both the Hangout and the lab, which we would love to encourage here, is question asking. So if you ask questions, we would absolutely love the chance to just walk you through and answer them. If we can't answer them, we'll get back to you. But we also have a Discord, which is not just for us, but it is a data science Discord, but it is filled with people who are on the lab and who join the data science hangout. They're all friendly, wonderful data science people. So if you have more questions after this session, you can hop on that Discord server. There's a short link inside the chat, and that will be open for the next few hours. All right, so I'm gonna let Isabella take it away with some screen sharing.
Absolutely. So what we're going to be talking about today is positron. And so if positron is new to you, it's a relatively new IDE or integrated development environment from Posit, who are the creators of RStudio. And so we are kind of focusing today on the kind of assumption that you are familiar with RStudio. You've used it before, you've used it for R analysis. And maybe you've heard of positron, maybe it's completely new to you. And maybe you've opened it up and then immediately exited out. And we're like, no, thank you. Like, I totally understand. It's a very different kind of format and setup. Although I would say the developers have thought very, very deeply about, people coming from RStudio, the sorts of things that they may be familiar with, and either kind of integrating those sorts of setups for RStudio users in Positron, or maybe even enhancing it a little bit, or at very least, like kind of shifting it to this kind of like new um, kind of format or IDE. So let me know. All good on the screen?
I think it looks a pretty good size.
Okay.
We can increase if we need to read some code
Yeah.
better, but
Let me know. Yeah. So if you install Positron, and again, assuming that you're coming from RStudio, I'm also assuming that you already have R installed. And so if you download Positron from the Positron website, open it up, this should be kind of what it looks like. And so a few things that I wanted to point out here. Of course, there are these three buttons that either allow you to open the folder, create a new folder, or new from Git. And so if you're coming from RStudio, you're probably very used to the idea of an R project. Every time that you open up a folder in RStudio, it creates a project with a .r proj file. And then you can just like click that R proj file to open it up in RStudio. Positron has a similar but slightly different way of working on things called workspaces. And the way that you do that is through opening up different folders. One big difference is it's not going to create an rproj file or anything like that. So it will just be the folder. It's not going to add anything, any metadata or anything like that. But that being said, once you open up a folder, the kind of functionality that you work with is going to be very similar as when you open a project file in RStudio. Before I open up a project, or a folder, I should say, there's a few other things that I want to mention. So here on the right-hand side, you'll notice these walkthroughs. And in fact, there's even a walkthrough for migrating from RStudio to Positron. And so if, again, this is completely new to you, you haven't opened it up before, feel free to, click that walkthrough and start trying things out. And so a few other things, well, I'm going to go ahead and open up a folder. So I'm going to click up open folder and I'm going to open this folder. All right. So things might look, once again, familiar, but different. So a few things that we want to point out. In RStudio, you're going to have a script that's going to open up kind of in the middle of your pane. And very similarly, when you, here I already have this open coincidentally, this is an app.r file. When I open up that script, it's right in the middle of that pane. In RStudio 2, there's the idea of a console. So this gives you the opening message of whenever you are working in R. It tells me my version. As you can tell, I'm very, very behind. I really need to upgrade R. And then this is like your console where you would do things like install your package, because once you do it, you don't need to keep installing that package. It is installed in your libraries. Here on the right-hand side is, if I click session, this is going to kind of correspond to the right-hand side of RStudio as well, as we'll see in a little bit. But probably the thing that's going to be very, very different that you may notice is this blue bar on the left. And so this is called your activity bar. And from here, there are various icons that correspond to different functionality that you can kind of toggle between. And so if, I don't want to see this, I can actually close that up. And here it looks even more like RStudio than before. But there are some things within this activity bar, I just click this button to open this up, that are going to be very important and very different. First and foremost is this first icon. which corresponds to your file explorer. If I hover over it, you'll see it says Explorer. And this essentially shows the folder that we're in. So I had opened up the 00 Our Ladies Melbourne demo folder. And then these are the folders that are contained within. Again, if you're used to RStudio, you'd be used to your file explorer kind of down here in a different kind of like layout. This is just what it looks like in Positron. And so here are all of my files kind of listed out in a different list. If I click one, it opens up that file. If you notice, it didn't open it up separately. It replaces the file depending on what I click. And for me, that was a really big adjustment. And so let's open up this R script, for example. And then from here, that's how I would navigate between the different files that are contained within my folder. The next icon that I want to point out is this is search. And so this searches within your files. This one is going to be your source controls. So this is how, if you're using Git, you can open a repository. This one is not connected to Git, so I would have to, activate Git within this folder. There's a run and debug. There's SSH targets. There's extensions, which we will return to in a little bit because this is also very important. It's these little boxes, testing, and then packages. And so this is relatively new. Again, if you're used to RStudio and having the list of all the packages that you have installed and so on in Positron, it'll be here in the activity bar. And from here, you can do things like click into it and learn more about the package that you're working or you want to work with. You can update it from here. As you can see, I have quite a few packages that I need to update and so on. But that being said, this is how you navigate between those kind of different icons in the activity bar. But I will say, I actually don't use almost any, or I should say, there are quite a few of these that I never use. Like, for example, I almost never use testing. I don't use run and debug. And so there are a few things that you can do here. If you right click on the activity bar, you can actually uncheck these different boxes or these, and then those icons disappear. And so, for me, like the most important things are Explorer, source control, and extensions, and I can just go ahead and customize my activity bar that way. Any
Yeah.
questions, Libby? Anything I should add?
Yes, we did have a
Yeah,
great question from Jenny.
yeah,
And I will have you demonstrate that. Jenny was like,
yeah.
okay, I really just want my file pane on the bottom right. Like, I want that back. You can click and drag almost anything. So if Isabella puts her cursor over the 00 underscore Our Ladies, and she just clicks it, she can drag that to the bottom right and put it anywhere she wants. So you can really just kind of do whatever you want. It's super, super customizable. And then also
There
with
we go.
this layout, which we'll talk more about a little bit, and feel free to ask any questions you have, you can kind of get back to where you were if you get lost by clicking the icon in the top right that looks like, yep, those little windows. So if Isabella closes her left-hand panel completely, which she can just slide that whole thing closed, it's going to go away. And you might be like, oh no, where did it go? She can just click that little stacked layout again and say, yep, stacked layout, and it'll just come back for her.
Yep,
So that's your
exactly.
safety button.
Yes, it's a great point too. And it's not just this, like literally, if I want my terminal to be up here, there we go. Now it is up there. And again, I can move it back depending on what I need. So the layout is very, very customizable, but is a great question.
Yeah, and you don't have to go into menus to do it like you do in RStudio. It's just drag and drop.
Yeah.
I know, Isabella, are you also going to show the way that you and I have our activity bar?
Yes. Okay. So to further customize your activity bar, say you're like this, these icons take way too much space. You can right click on the blue bar, scroll down to activity bar position, and you can put it on the top. And now it's going to be these smaller icons up top, and you can, toggle between them there. If I right click again and then say bottom, if you like it on the bottom, you could do that. You can completely hide it if you want. I'm going to leave it in the default for now, so it's the most visible, but depending on how much you like to, kind of clean up your screen and make it as minimal as possible, you can go ahead and do that too.
Yes, the only thing I will add is if you do move them to the top or bottom, like Isabella and I both have them at the top, you are going to notice that the icons that live in the bottom left, which are a like person icon and a gear icon, they're going to pop over to the top right for you. So if you, yeah, don't
Okay.
panic. They're still there. They're just on the opposite corner of the screen. Just didn't want anybody to make that change without realizing that that does happen.
Yeah, and that's actually a great point. I'm going to, sorry, up here. I'm gonna move it back to the default. And so I actually did not mention these, but they are also very important. This little person down here is how you can connect to things like GitHub. So you can see here, I actually have my GitHub already, set up in Positron. But from here, this is where it would prompt you to log in if you haven't logged in and so on. And then there's also the settings that also opens up various things and things like check for update, but we'll talk about these sorts of things in a little bit as well.
Yes.
Oh,
And
great.
I Jen just asked a question as well, which was, can you save your setup across projects? So we will talk about some settings in just a second, but there are different levels of settings, user settings versus like workspace settings as well. And Isabella will also show profiles, which is extremely useful. And it's actually how you are viewing her screen like this, because Isabella and I both have wildly customized Positron IDEs. And so we are showing you a vanilla out of the box IDE using those profiles. If you are a teacher, you're going to love this. So we'll get to that.
Yeah, that's right. But I do believe, like, say you had your activity bar up here and things like that. If you close out a Positron and open it back up, it should remember. It won't reset everything every time that you open it up. Awesome. Okay, so one thing that didn't happen to happen, but we also wanted to mention is toast. So I'm going to see if it's going to let me show you. Okay, so another big difference between Positron and RStudio are these idea of toasts. So I just manually opened up a toast, but usually they open automatically, like when you open Positron to give you some sort of notification. And I recently learned they were called toasts, which I think is super cute.
They
So
call
here's an example of what a toast looks like, and it's going to ask you some things. If you are like me, I compulsively close all of my notifications, and you can do exactly what I just did. Oh, I guess that's very important for me to mention. I'll talk about it in a second, but this is what a toast is. So if you open up Positron and then you're like, what is this? That's what that is. It's trying to tell you something important. You might sometimes get more than one at a time. But just, take a look at it, read it, and just know that you can always return to it whenever you need. Okay, so the very important thing that I just did, just mysteriously, is probably one of the biggest things about these. So positron is forked from uh, uh, what is it called, Libby? I forget. Like it's like VS Code. If you've worked with VS Code, it's a
It's a
fork
VS
of
Code
VS
fork.
Code.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, it's just a straight up VS Code fork. And
Yes, but it's
so
also like VS Code's owned by Microsoft, right? But there is a non-proprietary open source version of VS Code. That's what it's a fork of.
And so one of the most powerful features is this idea of a command palette. And so RStudio actually also has a command palette, but I think most RStudio users are used to using RStudio without the command palette. But when you are using Positron, this is very, very vital. The way that you open up the command palette, there are various ways, but probably the easiest way to open it is through a shortcut. And so I'm on a Mac, and so it's Command Shift P. If you notice, it opens up this window with a little caret at the top, your greater than sign, and then a bunch of things below it. And so these are actually things that I've toggled on recently. So it's going to show you your most recent commands up top. If you're brand new to Positron, it might be completely clear. But what you do is you start typing things, and it's going to start highlighting the ones that match whatever it is that you are typing. So, for example, I just talked about toasts, and I wanted to show you a toast, even though I had already closed, all my notifications. So what I can do is search for notifications. From here, I can use the down and up arrow to navigate through notifications. And if I press enter, it's going to execute whatever command that is. So in this case, for example, it is opening up the notification. If I hit Command Shift T again, you'll see like I have a bunch of things. I've cleared my recently opened. I can reload the window, which is like restarting my session. If you've ever done that in RStudio, I've been working on some Python, so I have create environment. There's all these different commands. And so essentially, if you are working in Positron and you're like, how do I do X, Y, Z? Give the command palette a shot. Try to like search and find it. So for example, like new R file, I start typing that up, and then the command for new R file, it gets highlighted. I can press enter and it will do exactly that. And so I think like that is probably for me one of the biggest changes. Like, of course, you could do things like click new and new file and things like that. But once you get used to the command palette, it's, just using your keyboard, it makes things very, very fast.
Yes. My favorite one, my favorite little trick is
Yeah.
when I first started using Positron, I was like, how do I just reload everything without closing Positron every time? So if Isabella just types the word window, she'll get an option that says developer reload window. And I'm not going to have her press that because it'll reload everything. Oh, okay. But
But you
that's
can
how you do
see.
it.
Yeah.
There is so much functionality in that command palette. We will get to more of it. That my biggest advice is if you are feeling squeamish about Positron, really embrace the command palette. You'll love it.
Yes. So one other thing that I think a lot of people who work in editors like to do is change your theme. So this is what Positron looks like when you install it out of the box. If I hit Command Shift P and search theme, there's going to be a preferences color theme. If I hit enter, I actually have a few options. And so again, I'm clicking the down arrow to go through all these different options, and I can change from my light theme to the dark theme and so on. And so let's say I'm going to change it to default dark now. So that's what it is right now. However, the VS Code ecosystem has a ton of what are called extensions. And I alluded to this earlier. It is these little boxes on the left-hand side. And this allows you to extend your editor. So, add all sorts of things that make it do all the sorts of things that you want it to do. And one of those things that you might want it to do is install a new theme that somebody else has created and put out in the world. If you use VS Code, there is a marketplace called VS Code Extension Marketplace where you can install extensions. And then Positron, being a fork of VS Code, can install extensions from a marketplace called OpenVSX. And so if the extension is available in that marketplace, you can install it. So let's say, Libby, would you like to talk about your favorite Positron theme?
Oh boy, would I. Okay. I'm going to put it in the chat for everybody. It's called Catpuchin, as in cappuccino plus cat. So she can type in CATPP,
Oh, am I
and
searching the
she
wrong
will,
place?
that's
Oh,
okay. I think you're in the right place.
there we go.
CATPP. Yeah,
CAT. Oh, there
two
we go.
P's.
Okay. Oh
There
my
it is.
God.
I know the two
Ta-da.
P's, it throws me off every time. You will see a couple of them. If you search cat puchin, you will see some different like cat puchin for VS Code and then also cat puchin icons for VS Code, which gives you like, more pastel colored icons. So I install this and run it, and it gives me all kinds of cute things. I think it gives you like four themes to choose from, four or five. I choose the macchiato one. I love it. So there we go. That's my theme is macchiato. And then a nice thing that it does for you is if she goes back over to her file explorer and opens like a Quarto document, a .qmd.
Oh, we don't have Quartus installed
Oh,
yet.
we don't have
Let's
Quarto
see.
installed. Okay. But we'll flip back to that in a minute. It gives me just really nice color, like colorizing on all of my headings and stuff. But I love it. Yep. Go play with themes. There are some people really love the rainbow. I forget what it's called, rainbow something. I bet I have it installed somewhere. Let's see.
Let me know. But just to recap again, let's say, I'm feeling macchiato today. If I hit Command Shift P, color preferences, color theme. Again, I can like switch between the ones that I have installed. If I want a new one installed and I know the name, I can go to the extensions and search that OpenVSX Marketplace to find the theme. And then what I did was hit install. This one's already installed to show you. Just a couple of things too. Here you can say that like you can hover over and see it is indeed in that OpenVSX marketplace. A question that we frequently get is how do you know that an extension is safe to install? Because, right, you are essentially bringing other people's code onto your computer, so it's a very, very valid question. Some heuristics that we have is, do you know the person, right? Like if you look up their GitHub profile, like are they familiar? Do they look like, somebody who is part of the community and so on? Another really good metric is how many downloads. So you can see this as 472,000 downloads. And so that's probably a good indicator. It's probably pretty safe. There are ratings, but you can see the rating, like the number of ratings to the number of downloads is quite off. But those are just some examples of things that you may want to do. So Libby mentioned Quarto. So if you've never used Quarto before, it is a way that you can write a code and text and add images in a way that to create really beautiful reports. And not just reports, you can create all sorts of documents such as websites, presentations, books, and so on. This is created by Posit. And so we did like a completely fresh profile for Positron. So if you notice, Quarto isn't even installed. And if you find yourself in a place where you're like, why can't I run a Quarto file? If you go to, again, the extensions, search for Quarto, hit install, this will install Quarto into your Positron. I believe sometimes when you download Positron, it should have it installed, but in this case, we just wanted to show you what it would look like to install it. And then again, you can kind of check once again, like this has 3 million downloads and it's from Posit. It's probably good to download.
Probably safe. Anything that comes from us, I feel like you can trust, but I understand anyone's hesitancy. I will
So
say, time check, we're at the halfway point. If anybody has questions, give them to
yeah,
me so
yeah,
that I can ask them. And I
we
do
will.
have one for you, Isabella, if you'd like it now, or we can wait.
Um, yeah, let's go for it. I'll go double
So
check.
maybe less of a question and more of a Libby skipping ahead because it's sort of a statement. So Sheila said, I had assumed that Positron wouldn't actually have a variable viewer. And so it's great to see that it does have that. Um, yes, she says that's what I struggled with when using VS Code. That's why we built Positron actually, because
Yeah.
VS Code was not built for data scientists specifically. And even though it was a very, robust and helpful IDE and a great ecosystem, it was really missing a like out of the box experience for data scientists. So I wanted to say, not only does it have your variable viewer in that top right, which will show things that you are used to seeing in RStudio, but once Isabella loads some data in a second, you're also going to see a data explorer, and she doesn't even have to load the data in. She could just click that CSV file without ever loading it in, and it's going to let her explore the data, which
Yeah.
is very different and cool.
Yes, let's go through all of that real fast. I just want to mention again, the activity bar is how I'm switching between all of these different views in this left-hand pane, in case you're like, how am I doing that? So here I'm in extensions, I'm clicking back into File Explorer, and here I've opened up Lincoln Weather.r. So let's go ahead and run this. And so I'm actually using the same exact command as in RStudio. So I highlighted these lines of code and I hit Command Enter. Again, I'm a Mac, and so that executed it. We can see it in the console that it in fact ran. And it also loaded my data here in this variable pane. And so it looks slightly different, but there are things that will look familiar if you are coming from RStudio. So just to kind of open it up. So I've opened up Lincoln Weather, and here I can see all of my various columns. And then I can see a preview of a few of the values within those columns, as well as the data type. So I can see this is string, integer, and so on. It also gives me a quick overview of what is in Lincoln Weather, like there's 366 rows and so on. If I click into it, now I can see, more about that particular column. But if you notice like 366 rows, that's quite a few. Surely there's a better way of taking a look at it. So if I scroll over to Lincoln Weather and go all the way to the right and hit this grid, I'm going to view the data table. So now I'm closing up the right-hand side so I can show you what the data table looks like. And so this is like if you hit view in RStudio, will probably look very familiar. So now I have this kind of like almost spreadsheet view of my data set. Here I have my different columns. Again, I can see the different data types I can look through. And so this is what they all look like. But not only that, I can do things like say max temperature, and I want to sort ascending to see like what is the highest one, or sorry, the lowest one in this particular column. It's 8. I can go back. So this is kind of an ephemeral view of your data set. Nothing is actually changing. It's just so that you very quickly can take a look at what is contained in your data set instead of like having to immediately jump in and write code. Similarly to sorting, I could add a filter and I can from here set conditions. So let's say like greater than 25, apply the filter, and then I can see like, oh, what do these dates look like, and so on. Again, this is not actually changing anything. It's just giving me a quick view into my data set. And if I want to, clear everything, go back to what it looks like, the data looks like when it's just loaded, I can hit here and click clear filters, and there we go. Something that
And
I
then,
don't, oh, sorry.
oh, no, go ahead, keep going. I think you're gonna get there.
Okay. Something that I don't believe is in RStudio is if I say apply a filter, again, I'll do greater than 25, right? I can hit this convert to code, and it will actually give me the dplyr syntax for doing that in a code first reproducible way. So this is how you would, if you want to take your ephemeral view and codify it in a script or so on, you can hit that convert to code. Here's my dplyr syntax. I can copy that code. And when I go back to my script, I can add that in here. And that way I have it for whatever like other purposes that I need.
I love this so much. That's what I was gonna say. I was gonna be
Oh,
like,
okay.
you gotta show
Great
the
minds.
code thing. And then also, there was a little arrow on the left that Isabella could have expanded and contracted, and that was just that missingness and data types.
Ah, thank you. Yes. Okay, so I just went back to the data viewer. Want to chat about this?
Yes, please explain this. So
Oh, okay, great.
this is one of my
So
favorite things because this is definitely not in our studio.
yes, so the way I got here again, went to my data set, hit the data viewer, it opened this up, and I forgot because it was closed, but it is very, very cool. If I click this little arrow here, it's going to show me once again all of the different columns, but in addition to that, it's going to do like a really quick preview of what is contained within those columns. So max temperature, for example, I can hover over this histogram and see like, oh, 50 to 58, the count is there's 37 of them, which make up 10.5% of the data set. There is a way to see what percent of that column contains missing values. So, for example, max temperature has no missing values. And then if I click this, a few more summary statistics that you can take a really quick look at. And so, yeah, it's very, very cool.
Yes, and then the missingness on the right, that 0 and less than 1%. So she can hover and it will tell her, yep, no missing values for these. And as she goes down, you can see that all of these are numeric because they have that little hash symbol on the left. And if we hit any that were a text column, for example, they would have an A. There's one. So that you can see different data types, which I freaking love. If anybody is used to using something like Skimmer, the Skimmer package and the skim function in R, which I love, if you haven't, go play with it. I kind of use this instead now.
Yes, it's very, very cool. You can bring it back to code. And another thing Libby mentioned earlier is say that you have your data in a CSV, and again, you just kind of want to take a really quick look at it. If this is how I do it, Libby, I'm curious how you do it. If I right-click that CSV and then click Open With, and then I hit the Positron Data Explorer, it pops open that CSV in the Data Explorer immediately. So I don't even need to load it if I'm like, checking it out and seeing, do I even want to load this data set before I actually load it? And so
I
from
actually
here,
just click it.
oh,
Like
you
I think
just
you
click
just
it?
click, yeah.
Oh,
Like if you click something else like
oh,
app
you're
bar, yeah, and then
right.
you
Oh my gosh.
click back to
Oh.
like just the file name, which I just figured out by clicking through a million one time. And I was like, oh, how fast can I do this? I was inside of a repo that had like 16 CSV files, and I did not bog Positron down at all. I was just like clicked through them. Yep, it's
I
super
learned
handy.
something because yes, so I just clicked it and it opened it. Amazing. You don't even have to right click on it. And it gives you that same view again. The script data set is from Lincoln. This one is from Seattle. And if I want to just take a quick look at like what it's contained within it, oh no, I have two columns full of nulls and things like that. You can take a quick look at it without actually loading your CSV unless you want to.
So let's see. We had a quick question
Yeah.
or observation and a question. Says, I noticed that all of the Posit speakers use the native pipe. We've just seen the native pipe here as well. Can you explain the reason? The native pipe is just native. It's like when I type in my shortcut, that's what we get inside of Positron. So just like in RStudio, where you can turn on in the settings, the global settings, whether or not you want RStudio to use the native pipe, which if you haven't seen, you can do that. You can go to Tools, Global Options in RStudio, and there's a section that'll let you choose. Like when I type my shortcut, I want to get the native pipe. Um, no other reason than for me, that's what I have gotten used to over the years. I had to teach in the native pipe, so I switched to it. But we can also talk about porting over our RStudio key bindings. I think Isabella's going to talk about that.
Yeah, I think this is a good time to talk about user settings. And just a quick note. So this is a native pipe if you've never seen it before, as opposed to the McGritter pipe, which looks like this, right? And I would say, I think Hadley wrote a blog post on this a little while back. So the native pipe was introduced in R 4.2, and it is native to R, which is why it's called the native pipe. And so what that means is that it doesn't require any dependencies in order to use versus the McGritter pipe, which requires McGritter, which is automatically loaded if you're using the tidyverse and things like that. But if you're not, or you're just in general trying to reduce dependencies, that's what the native pipe allows you to do. So it's particularly helpful if you develop a lot of packages, for example, and you don't want to add a McGritter dependency to your package. In terms of functionality for these kinds of pipes, they're very, very, very similar to each other. The base hard pipe, native pipe, and the McGritter pipe. But once you get to using non-tidyverse functions where the data needs to be passed to different places, it does get slightly more complex. But if you work in primarily the tidyverse, you can almost always switch them out, and it's up to you and your preference.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so I think this is a great time to talk about user settings. I'm realizing, Livy, that it actually gave me a user setting even though we're in this brand new profile. But if I head over to the Positron website, if it lets me, There is this page called RStudio binding, or yes, RStudio key bindings. So those kind of key bindings that you use, for example, Command Enter to run code, Command Shift M to create a pipe. If you want to bring those over to Positron, what you want to do is make sure that your RStudio key bindings are enabled. And so if you go to this website, you can read through it, and it just mentions right here, a large set of RStudio key bindings can be enabled with this setting. If you're on the website and you just click this, it's going to take you to exactly the right spot in the positron settings, so you don't have to search for it or anything like that. And so this is what it looks like. And here I can click Enable RStudio key bindings. Notice it says requires restart. I can hit Command Shift P, open up that command palette again, reload the window, and now it's going to have all of these RStudio key bindings that are mentioned on the website available for you to use. And so again, if you're coming from RStudio, highly recommend it so that the transition is a bit more seamless. In terms of settings within Positron, there are a couple places to edit them. So this one is, if you notice, kind of like a GUI, like you can click through things. If I close out of this, you'll see like there's a ton of different settings that I can change. So we were just talking about the pipe, for example. And so if I type in pipe and hit R, it's going to ask me, string to insert as a pipe operator. So say I really want to use the McGritter pipe instead, I can click here and switch, and now that's going to be, when I hit Command Shift M, what's going to be the pipe that pops up instead of the native pipe, or I can switch it back.
Yep.
Oh, sorry.
I wanted to hop in really quickly.
Yeah.
And mention Jenny had to leave. She switched to her phone, but she had asked much, much earlier while we were in this section about can we have settings that are specific to the project? Yes. So Isabella has user and workspace settings right there at the top. If she goes to workspace and then she changes something, you will see in her file pane a VS Code folder that gets created, and that will contain its own settings.json. That means that you can have settings per project that you want to change. Like if you're like, okay, I'm working on this one project with this person who only uses the McGritter pipe and I want to stick with that, you can just change that one setting for this one project. I hope that helps.
Yeah. Thank you for mentioning that. Yeah. So just to quickly recap, in the settings pane, there's user, there's workspace. If you change something in workspace, it's going to create this folder with a settings.json file. And so this is actually the other way that you can change not just your workspace settings, but all your settings in Positron. So this one is specific to just this workspace, but let's say like I want something to be the case for every time that I open up Positron, right? And so one way of getting to this kind of view is, again, the command palette, probably not surprising. If I hit settings, you'll see that there are actually a few different options. And so if it says UI, it's going to look like this, where things are written out like so. Command Shift P again, settings, and then there's also one that says JSON. And so clicking this, it opens up this settings.json file. And so in this case, versus the workspace settings.json file, this one is, if you notice, like for all of Positron, and it looks like this. If you've never seen a JSON file, it's kind of like this nested structure with like, a key and then a value. So for example, here, it has remembered my workspace color theme is now this macchiato theme for cappuccino. So the next time I open this, it will read this and pull that up, and then this is the theme that I will see. Because this is my my user settings, it doesn't have that the one for the pipe, because again, that's just for my workspace. But from here, you can really customize Positron. And so I have a link to all of my settings because, over time, you can keep adding things. And so if they're not available in the settings UI, you can probably find something for the JSON file instead. And then you can just kind of keep adding things until you get like the experience in Positron that you want. So, for example, for me, um, generally I use Positron for Python. So I have a setting in my settings.json file that automatically opens Python every time I open Positron, for example. Um, yeah, Livy, do you have a favorite setting?
Yes, I am putting them in, let's see. I'm putting them in the chat right now for anybody. These look funny because they are JSON code, right? So like these settings that I'm adding, these can also just be changed inside of the UI. You would just need to type in to get there the first part. So like if you typed in format on save, you would get to my format on save one. So my two favorite, I think, are using air, the formatter for R, and turning format on save on. That means anytime my file is saved, it's going to reformat it for me. Now, if you are reviewing someone's code in like GitHub or something and you don't want it to reformat their code every time you review it, I would recommend creating a profile that lets you turn that off. But so that's my favorite. And then I combine that with file.autosave set to on focus change, which is amazing. That means that anytime my focus leaves the code editor, it automatically saves my file for me. So if I click anywhere else, if I click my console, if I click the file pane, it saves my work in my editor, and I need that. I'm very absent-minded.
Yes.
Oh, and we
And
have 10 minutes left. How
I
much
know
further can we get?
time flies when you're having fun. But I do want to mention air that Libby just mentioned. So if you've ever used something like Styler before, it is like a way of formatting your code so that it looks, very nice as you're typing it. It adds spaces and so on. And Air is a new R formatter that was, as it says here, largely motivated by Positron. And so one thing to note, it is very highly opinionated. So if you like your code a very specific way, just consider your options. But if you are good with somebody else and their opinions, Air is a really great formatter that you could use. And you can learn more about air on this page. And then down here, it actually shows you what the VS Code settings.json file should look like if you want to enable air. And so versus before when we were editing settings in the UI, here what we can do is, copy this, go back to Positron. I think that's all I need. We'll see. And then if I paste this in here and save and reload, it should have air now enabled in my positron. And so again, this is like part of what you do. You're like, I wish I had XYZ in positron. You search to see if there's a setting, and then you add it to your to your settings.json file. I think there's actually a way, yeah, if you go to the command palette and click JSON and type JSON, there's a JSON sort document. And if you hit that, it actually moves, it puts everything in alphabetical order, which makes it a little bit easier to read. And for me, I add comments because I always forget what my setting is. I'm like, this was very important one time and I forgot what it does.
Yeah,
Um,
and you can share settings too by a link. So if she goes back to the UI settings, um, there is next to the settings, there is always a way to like share them by just clicking the little gear icon, and then you can copy the settings as a URL or as the JSON. So if you want to share it with somebody, you're like, I love this setting. Here it is. Stick it in Slack, stick it wherever. Then when they click that, as long as they have Positron open, it's just going to take them right to the setting.
yeah.
Very cool.
So we've been talking about a lot of things uh, theoretically, but definitely want to show you what it looks like to actually run some code. And so here I have this R script, which is called lincolnweather.r. And as mentioned, just like RStudio, I can highlight some code and I can click, well, I probably need to load dplyr. I could click Command Enter and it just runs that piece of code. And if you use ggplot for data visualizations, just like in RStudio, there's also a plots pane down here. The nice thing about the positron plot pane is there's quite a few features added into it. You can do things like, zoom in, take a closer look. You can do things like change the dimensions of the image, like depending on what you need. It has an option to add a dark filter, so I didn't have to change anything in my code for it to actually do that. And then definitely click around and like learn, all of these different buttons. But probably one thing that we all really care about is being able to save an image. If I click that, I could do things like change the width, and then save it, and then it saves, that particular image wherever it is that I need.
We have 5 minutes left, and
Okay.
Dion had a question that I wanted to get to. Dion was like, "Hey, I'm used to being able to open multiple projects at once in different windows. Can we do that?" Yes, you can. So if Isabella goes up to new on the top left, she can go to new folder from template. She could say, "Yep, I just want to open like a plain R project," and she can go through and name it something. Sorry, Isabella, stick something in there. And then once she gets there, it'll say, do you want to open this in a new window or the current one? If you say current, it's going to take this screen over. If you say new window, she's just going to get another instance of Positron. So same thing as like
Yeah.
multiple R sessions.
All right, let's see how much we can fit in 5 minutes. So if you are used to creating Shiny apps, so this is an app.r file and you want to preview your Shiny app, you can hit this play button and then ta-da, it opens up in this viewer, similar to RStudio where you can test things out. If I hit this button, it'll open it up in a browser so that, I can see what it looks like in the browser and so on. If you're used to Quarto files, which again are a way of creating reports, you can do things like run your Quarto file. Oh, what am I doing? Sorry, preview. If you hit preview,
Preview.
this will this will preview your file. It's loading right now and running everything, and hopefully with
That
no
double play button
errors.
that Isabella did click, that's a run all button.
Yeah, my bad. Sorry, preview. There is also this render on save. If I click on this, that means like if I change something and then save my QMD file, it's going to automatically update this QMD file. And some folks are used to the visual editor in Positron. Right now, the way that you find the visual editor is clicking these three buttons and then click edit. I'm not going to click it, but in case you want to find it, edit in visual mode. And this will move it to the visual editor, which is where, instead of seeing three hashes for a heading, you'll just see what the heading looks like when it's a heading 3. Awesome. And so I think the last few minutes, one thing I want to mention is I only have one version of R installed, but if you have multiple R versions, if you click here, they'll show up here and you can actually click through each one and change your R session within Positron. And so, which I think is a very cool feature if it is something that is important for you when running code. And the last thing I want to mention is you can also have multiple sessions of R running within the same project. So for example, here, if I click, uh, uh, yes, there we go, new terminal. And, oh, no, I'm sorry, I'm in the console, right? Libby, I'm sorry, I've forgotten.
Wait, I missed
Oh,
it.
yeah, there
I
we
was
go.
looking for a resource.
Yes, in console, if I hit the plus sign, now I actually have two sessions of R open instead of just one, which again, depending on your workflow, you may need.
Yep, and because you can work in Python as well, you can just
Mm,
open Python sessions too if you want to. And also, it's going to show you your CPU usage as a sparkline in each of those, which is cool, and it will also show you your memory usage. Very, very handy.
yeah. Anything else to show in the last minute, Libby?
Well, we had a question that was like, hey, can you show how AI is integrated? And that is such a big topic that we cannot get to all of it. However, I can give you a link to a session that we had using Posit AI assistants with Sarah Altman and Simon Couch. I will put that link to that YouTube video. I would keep in mind that everything has moved so fast that we are actually like moving past even what was in that video, and we now have Posit Assistant,
Yeah.
which combines Databot and Positron Assistant, if you are aware of those. And so such a big topic. I wish we could squeeze it into 1 minute, but it's probably not worth it.
I know. Oh, yes. The last thing, oh, I think I should be able to show it if we mentioned earlier that we are using different profiles. And so we created a brand new profile to give you like this fresh view of Positron without any settings and things like that. But if I go to this gear, I hit profile, I hit default. So this is my typical setup for Positron. This is what it looks like. And so here on the right-hand side, I actually have Posit Assistant, which is our built-in AI assistant for Positron already installed. And so this is what it would look like once you have it set up and ready to go.
Yay. Okay. My timer
Yeah.
just went off to tell me we reached the end. There were questions that we weren't able to get to. Meg had asked, do any of your videos cover running Python scripts inside Positron? Yes, absolutely. Check out that Posit YouTube channel, but also please join the Discord. That way you can stay connected with us and we can continue to answer all your questions. Like we have a Positron channel, we have a Python channel. I'm putting that in there as well. And then somebody had asked, Dion said, can you view the headers in a QMD in the side panel, like in RStudio? Isabella, can you show the outline button real quick?
Yes. So I clicked into the File Explorer, and down here, there is this outline. And if I open a QMD file, there we go. We can
There we
see,
go.
I mean, I probably need to annotate this more, but indeed,
Yeah.
there's the overview. If this had a label, it would show the label for the code cell and so on. So this is how you would take a look.
Yes, and you can grab those and drag them anywhere. So she could grab the word outline, drag it to the right or top bottom. Same with the timeline. Everything can go anywhere you want it to go. Okay, I hope that this was fun for everybody. If you like this live coding type of like fun environment, this is what we do at the Data Science Lab. And this is like what we can give you on our playlist. And I wish you could come in person. It's like in the middle of the night for y'all. I'm so sorry. I'll put
Thank you
the
so
playlist
much.
link in there. Yeah.
Definitely give Positron a try if you run into anything or have any comments or questions. Like we're always on the Discord. We'd love to hear how it goes. And yeah, we hope you really love it.
Absolutely. All right. I will let the Our Ladies folks take over if you would like to. Thank you, everybody, for coming.
I just want to say thank you. I think this has been a very successful session and everyone has very much enjoyed it. So this was amazing. So thanks.
Hooray!
A
I
lot
love
of
seeing the
links to go
surprised
through.
faces.
Yeah.
Thank you for all the questions too. Like it's really helpful.
Does anyone
Yes,
have any
please.
last minute questions they really want to ask? We could maybe get
Yeah,
one or two more that
I'm fine to hang out for another couple of minutes if anyone has a burning question and doesn't have another meeting. Um, I will say one more plug for join the Discord. Isabella and I are there. You can tag us, you can ask us questions. We don't bite. We're very, very nice.
I can vouch for the Discord. It is an
Yeah,
excellent
it's great.
community resource, and you can ask questions in the middle of the night, and somebody will answer it when they're back online.
Yes, often Kylie and I are on at the same time because I am awake in the middle of the night. But also, Isabella and I both took a little bit of time to get from RStudio to Positron, and we still
Mhm.
really love RStudio. If you love RStudio and it does everything you want it to do, and you just don't like Positron, don't feel pressured to use Positron. Use what you love. So be kind to yourself there. Harry had asked Renv support. Yeah, you can use Renv, absolutely, just like you would in RStudio. All right.
fabulous. Well, I think we'll leave it there. So the recording will be on our Ladies Plus Melbourne YouTube, and then we can share that link around so everybody has it. Like that's completely fine. So we could definitely replay this entire session, which I probably will be doing so I can actually start learning how to use it. Seems really fun.
Awesome. Yeah. Kirsty, let us know if you want copies
Yeah.
of all the links and stuff that we shared. I would
That would
love
be
to
good
make sure that
actually.
You
Yeah.
have all of that.
I have a lot of the links, but I'm worried that I might have missed something. But anyway, I will
We
have this
got you.
meeting chat so I can copy and paste and then we can add additional links if we didn't put anything in, for example, as well.
Yeah. Oh, and I will
Um,
share my LinkedIn, my Blue Sky, Isabella's LinkedIn, Isabella's Blue Sky. If
Perfect.
you do
Yeah,
those things, they're
and
there.
Kirsty, we could potentially put them in the description of the YouTube
Yeah. Yeah,
when
yeah,
we
yeah,
post it,
definitely.
so that those are all. I'm just following from the podcast that I listen to. They're like, the links are in the description. I'm
Yes,
like,
and if
that's
you
really
look at any
helpful.
of our YouTube videos, please open the description. I work so hard and I fill it full of all the resources that we talk about when we do the videos and also timestamps.
Oh, you're
Incredible.
amazing.
Yeah.
Libby and Isabella are both amazing. That is why I hounded them to present this. So thank you very much for staying up later than the average workday to do this. It's been
No,
an absolute
no
pleasure.
problem.
Well,
Yes,
thank you for
invite us
having
again.
us. Yes.
Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next
Thank you so
time.
much.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Have a good day,
Bye.
everybody.